That's why you need to put them in jail. If the problem is people doing this in jail and not going to jail, just put them in jail. It's simple. The 2%, yes, I know. We will apply the 2% rule to the whole world.
They come from Venice, from Florence.
I got no problem. We put kids in jail. I got no problem with that. 15, you're going to jail. You're going to learn how to turn big rocks into small rocks. You're not learning about the Civil War anymore. You're learning about how to make a big rock into a rock that's smaller with a hammer. That's going to be your job now for the next 5 years.
Barcelona, all the people come here, all the tourists are in Rome. They know who is not concentrated. Yes.
And how many years have you been doing this?
Lui.
20 years.
Damn.
Upstairs in the years.
2-0?
Yes, he.
Wow.
This is like that one hunter in Stranglethorn Vale that will sit outside the camp at Nesting Worry's camp that's level 60 and kill the rogues that are trying to gank people turning in their quests. This is like that one hunter waiting.
Trolling the metro, scanning every face until Simone's spidey senses were triggered.
Scusi. Okay, Simone has something in his mind right now he's looking for.
10 minutes ago. We see now.
Oh, you see one right now?
See if easy hour se ne vanno. Okay, see.
Okay. Be prepared to run.
Okay.
Okay, we're hopping in the metro.
As Simone checked stop after stop after stop, it looked like he had found something, or rather, someone.
Queste? Salpico, eccole. Eccole. Eccole, occhio che sono ladre. Attenzione. Occhio a queste ragazze che sono ladre. A miserabile, mamma mia, allucinante. Oh.
Did they get him?
Bene. Queste le fanno piangere.
Attenzione!
Queste le fanno piangere, ladri. Andate via tutte e quattro, guarda.
Oh, she putting the thing over her face so they don't know about it.
Cammina. Guardatele bene loro,
And they're smiling.
Sono ladri.
Attenzione!
Sono ladri.
Yep.
Well, I was surprised these pickpockets turned out to be teenage girls. Apparently, this was done to strategically evade criminal prosecution.
Attenzione!
Ladri. Via. Andare fuori, cammina. Fuori, ladri. Ecco. Vai via, cammina, parli pure. Sembrano bambini, queste fanno piangere la gente.
See, the thing is that when there are enough people who are upset about this, you know, like as I said, the stop the boats turning into sink the boats, this problem is going to go away overnight. This problem will be gone in a day. There's a reason why people do this here and not in Dubai. I bet in Saudi Arabia this doesn't happen very often at all. I wonder why. Ooh. It's a mystery.
Che non succede altro. Fino a fuori l'accompagniamo, cammina. Via, hai visto come, non sembrano bambine?
Like
ma
kids?
no.
Maybe, I don't know.
They're pickpockets, they're seasoned pickpockets?
Sì, quelle
Professionals?
Professionals.
Yes, you have every day is still at least.
Ooh, every day they steal at least 1,000 euros.
Every day.
Jesus.
Simone was a local hero out here, with the community showing him love everywhere we went.
Oh my God.
The public is thanking him for his services here. The love out here is real for Simone. He's patrolling the trains.
If they're gypsies, they're not coming with boats, you morons. Nothing will happen with this issue, even if every European border is closed. Okay, I can be a little bit more specific. Basically, if the people get in charge that want to sink the boats, they're going to use capital punishment for any of the people that are doing this, and they're literally just going to kill them. That's what's going to happen. Doesn't matter if they're kids or not, they're going to kill them. It's going to be done in like a day. Bro, what? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Like, I mean, like, look at any country that doesn't have this happen, and you're going to find a level of punishment for this that is extreme. You steal, you die? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, that seems pretty simple. Yeah. And I'm telling you, like, that's what would happen, base, but unachievable. You think that. Everybody thinks that. Chad, why are you acting like this couldn't happen? It's happened before. Yeah, of course. Easily that could happen. Do you really think that, like, I mean, people... I think a lot of you guys really, and not a lot of you guys, there's just a handful of like disagreeers in chat. A lot of disagreeers in chat really, I think, downplay the amount of casual frustration and annoyance that people like this have with random individuals causing problems in their day-to-day life. And I think that they don't respect and you don't understand the extent that an average person will actually go to avoid having this level of stress in their life. That would be chaotic. No, it wouldn't. It would only happen for like a week. As like, guarantee if they brought back, if they cut somebody's hand off, if they caught them stealing, how often do you think this would happen? Basically never. It would go down by like 99%. Instantly. Yeah, it would happen twice. I like that. Yeah, there it is. And no, it wouldn't. It would stop overnight. Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, again, if you, and that's the way that you have to deal with people like this. If you don't, they don't listen to you. They don't respect you. And this is what will happen. I think people don't understand what vigilante means. Well, I don't mean this as a vigilante. I mean this is a government policy. People act like we're like really far away from that. I think that you really underestimate the average public's ability to totally justify brutalizing people in order for people to maintain a level of decorum and safety in society. It's extremely easy to achieve that.
He's like the night watch right now. They love them. They appreciate the services. One thing I want to note is many people have come up here, said thanks for the work they do.
Oh, grande!
There we go.
Grazie mille.
Police love them, security love them.
What a surprise.
Everyone and their mama loves them, except the pickpocketers and the gypsies.
And as we were on patrol, we caught wind from security that a family nearby had just been pickpocketed.
Oh, uh-oh.
China family.
They got robbed? Okay,
This is a
Chinese
Korean family?
got pickpocketed. They're pissed off. They're pissed off. You guys got robbed?
I think so, yeah.
What did they take?
Wallet.
Wallets. How
What a
much was in
surprise.
the wallet, do you know?
Another credit card, 250 euro cash. He remembers that someone pushed the trolley.
What do they look like? Did you see them?
We didn't see.
We need to find them.
We need to find, but I don't think that the money possible.
Sorry this happened to you. He's going to give you some ideas and suggestions for what you should do next. Bye-bye. Sorry. Man, that sucks. They literally just got pickpocketed. She was saying that he got pushed. That's the only thing he remembers. And then they realized their wallet was gone.
While Simone was not hopeful we could prove who the thief was minutes after they were pickpocketed, we continued our patrol, and to my surprise, things got even weirder.
Guarda, inside
What?
the train.
You see what?
In the train, eccola.
Where?
Purtroppo.
He catches her inside the train?
Attenzione!
Attention! Okay, so they escaped unscathed.
Oh my god.
They're on the radar now. Let's see if we can catch up to them.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
How? I don't. Yeah, bro, he's wall hacking. Yes.
Man or woman?
No, woman.
Woman. Red.
Behind him, there are two. Look.
I see them. Two little girls.
Guardalo un po' appena arriva da termine.
Straight to action.
Ah, ladri!
Pick.
Che famo?
Non sa rubare oggi.
Sei ladra, non lavori? No. Sicura?
I'm sure.
Questa fa.
A me non mi pare.
Dove stanno, amico?
Con zaino grosso. Vabbè, magari oggi non lavoro, non c'ho lo zaino grosso.
They're kind of
Sempre
easy to
sabato.
spot if you're from Rome. Really?
Who are
Today
they?
she don't work today.
Oggi non work.
Ah, she's off shift. What does he say?
I don't work. Why?
Oggi non borseggi.
Just not today.
They say they're not working this shift today. We're peeling out.
Wow.
Interesting dynamic. Are men ever pickpockets?
The men are from Chile, from South America, and they are very dangerous because they have knife.
Do we want to confront the men?
No, because they work in the afternoon, in the evening.
Oh, man. Yeah. Immigrants? Yeah, exactly. This is, again, if you think that the people that are living here are going to put up with this indefinitely, you are out of your mind. The way that they will deal with this, again, and this would have never happened if they had just had police here arresting these guys that are doing it. It would have never happened. The fact is that the reason why people are becoming so radicalized is because that's the only ability, that's the only way that they have to be listened to. The reasonable conversations about like, hey, we need to have more police down here, we need to stop these people that are doing this, we need to be able to defend ourselves, all of this stuff was ignored. It was ignored, and it will be ignored, and eventually someone will listen. And when that happens, the government takes all the police's power. Yes. There's nothing new in Rome. It's been happening since before we were born. Sure. They put on with it for decades. I know. But I think that what's different now, so here's what's different now. It's the internet. I think the fact that people can realize and see how bad this is on the internet, and now that the internet is pretty much not censored in the same way that it used to be, why do you think that they're trying to make all of these laws that are controlling the internet? It's because they know that if people have the ability to see this happening, everybody will universally agree that this is a bad thing. It should be stopped, whatever means necessary. Of course. Who's they? Well, the European government, the United Kingdom's government, obviously, right? I mean, like the EU's been pushing for regulations and controls over the internet. Even the US is doing it. Australia is doing it. The UK is doing it. Yeah, there's tons of them.
Now are only from the east of Europe.
I see. So mostly women here. How much money do they make per day?
I think like 3,000 euros.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Wow.
As a group or individually?
No, group.
And then this guy came up to us showing how concerned these commuters were of getting pickpocketed.
Eccolo.
Ok, cool.
Scusate. Ciao.
Buongiorno.
Salutare. Buongiorno. Grazie mille.
Che vogliamo fare con questa
Vinciamo.
Tyler.
Vinciamo.
Molto piacere. Dici.
Ciao, Frida.
Non dubbi.
Faccio più ragazzi.
C'è
I think
ragione.
ancient Romans weren't doing this, you're dumb. So here's the difference. So there's two really big differences. Number one, the first difference is that Romans are doing it to other Romans. I think that when you have people that aren't indigenous to a certain culture, like, for example, like these guys from like Africa that are coming and scamming people at the Colosseum, that's a very different dynamic than if you have people that are inside of the culture that exists there and are doing it on their own. So that's number one. There's like an element of kind of like cultural invasion that's happening. And then the second reason is that you have also the fact that they're not getting in trouble and there's no enforcement.
Let's stop this.
In ancient Rome, when you have people that are committing crime, I bet they probably dealt with that pretty quickly, right? Didn't happen for very long before somebody just had a bad time. The problem here is that you have both of these things happening simultaneously. You have, number one, this crime is being imported into the country. And number two, it's not being enforced. That's the reason why it's different.
Noi facciamo il massimo.
Mamma mia, he's lucky. Ay, ay, ay. He has to lock his bag. He's so afraid of the pickpockets?
Yes.
The man is locking his
surprise.
bag. He's that afraid of getting pickpocketed.
We found a season you'd never
Dove? Adesso.
I think we see someone. We're on the
Uh-oh,
chase.
uh-oh, alert.
Run, Simone.
Get his ass.
Sei una ladra? Sei una ladra, sei?
There she
Yeah, I might
is.
pop some music on the live if you guys don't mind.
Pickpocket, attention.
So we'll do that real quick and pull up a tab for that.
Attention.
Yep.
Col grande Taylor direttamente dal Texas.
Why don't the cops arrest these people? She's already walking around the
E la
cops.
accompagniamo fuori, Dai, va, ladra. Andiamo fuori,
Oh,
va.
man.
Oh, Simone.
Yeah, why aren't they doing that?
Ci sta pure la guardia del corpo,
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
got the
God.
carpet treatment.
As she came up the elevator,
How do people put up with this shit?
I saw the unimaginable. A baby bump. She was pregnant.
Letto, poi
She's
copriamo il
pregnant,
viso,
pregnant
What a
pickpockets.
surprise.
Ma lui è quello che copre lei, capito? Lui guarda un
Security
secondo,
aren't the
amico
cops?
mio.
I just assumed it said Interpol, so I assumed it was some sort of police. But like, yeah, maybe you're right.
Attenzione a lei,
And also,
siamo-
by the way, if you have security and they're not stopping people from stealing, just fire them and tell them to go home. You're wasting your money. Like, it really, I mean, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, so you have security for this and they're not even, what are they securing? A paycheck? For themselves. That's it. Yeah, fuck that. Don't even pay him.
Attenzione a lei che ruba, occhio, guardatela bene. Questa non ti sono
Uh-oh. Oh.
Attenti alle borse, che ruba! A ladra! Ma tu sempre sono 16 anni che stai incinta.
Pregnant for
sono
16
anni che
years?
stai incinta, come funziona?
Oh, non partorisci mai.
Guarda che roba, sei in cavallo, sei.
You're built like a horse?
The young girls to avoid prosecution, police getting their hands on them. It's tough to tell if this is a strategic pregnancy we're witnessing.
Wait, he's saying that she's looking like she's pregnant, but she's actually not, in order to garner sympathy and make herself look like she's less, less dangerous. That's clever. It's like that one. Snake with the spider tail, you know?
This is our same girl from yesterday.
You hear the spirits singing, sweet music in your ear. Let's go to Magic Mountain, go to Magic Mountain tonight. Light comes flowing through the trees, the colors dance so beautifully. An island in the diamond-studded sky. You can feel the river flow, the crystal moon is sinking low. I think I could rise tonight and fly.
Let me see if we run Spotify instead.
So sweet, they hear the thoughts I'm thinking.
This is common.
Yeah, it seems like it's lagging.
I think it's not true.
Not real?
Yes.
Turn down the volume.
Somebody is looking. They put like this. Look, you are pregnant.
You may hear the sound of strings, 1,000 voices caroling, spreading out like branches in the air. Am I asleep?
All right, let's pause this because I think it's making the video
She's
lag.
pregnant with stolen phones. Oh God.
Okay, cool.
Is it gonna be a Samsung or an Apple? Instead of a boy or girl.
Pregnant.
While Gen Z faces an American dream that now costs over $100,000 a year in all 50 states, forced to navigate the most expensive housing market in history, and a dollar worth 86% less than it was for baby boomers, it's easy to forget that during the 1980s, boomers also endured one of the largest reductions in real wages since the Great Depression,
Where the
a
fuck
housing
did I put
market that saw
my-
prices increase by over
Oh, it's right here.
85%, factories closing as millions of jobs were outsourced overseas, all while the nation remained consumed by the Cold War and the aftermath of Vietnam. Where in order to understand the root of the nation's growing generational divide, I spoke with Freddie Smith, a real estate agent and a broker who's built a career exposing the data between American generational quality and rights conflict. Breaking down this generation actually walking to the real careers of the collapse.
The boomer advice is typically to save
Russian,
on all
Russian.
stuff, quit buying TVs and phones because you need to save, because the luxuries in the 1980s were actually really expensive. So they were living, in general, a more humble life because we do have the luxuries of being able to have multiple TVs for a couple $100s, where back then they had, their rent, however, was probably around $200 to $250, which was very cheap. But if they wanted to buy 3 TVs like most families have today, they're $1,000 a piece back in the 80s. So it'd be $3,000. A CD player was $500, a cell phone was $2,000, a computer was $2,500, a microwave was $500. So all those luxuries that we just all take for granted now would have cost them $8,500
But they're cheap now
to buy that, which would be equivalent to
Shit gets
3.5
better as time
times
goes
their
on.
rent.
Just
3.5
temporary
years their
shit.
rent. So, yeah, and $8,500 is also equivalent to a 20% down payment on a $40,000 home. So if you think about like the boomers thinking of this, going, if you have 3 TVs, a cell phone, a computer,
Why
a
did
microwave,
I have 3 TVs?
this is why you can't buy a house, because we couldn't have any of that. That was our 20% down for our house, or that was 3.5 years of our rent.
I didn't get 3 TVs when I was a
Three
kid. I
TVs,
love TV
music,
novels.
three TVs, $600. Music, Netflix, and subs, say $100. Cell phones at $500, $400. And our rent is typically around $2,000. So it's essentially all those luxuries that were equivalent to 20% payment for them equals 1 month of our rent. So our rent is our luxury now. And the final button, for the average house, you need probably around $60,000 for down payment. So the 400, if you just didn't have any TVs, no cell phone, no computer, no microwave, you'd still be 60 short for down payment. So that's what in the 80s luxuries, things like edge, air, cars, everything was cheaper. The necessities were cheaper.
One of the other things is the perception of 1980 were a period of time where dollar was worth something prosperity for the most part, and so quickly that way. There's a statistic where the dollar lost about 53% value within 7 weeks for the last 2 days, and so we've seen this loss. They bring us evenly close. It started dated minimum wage during Ronald Reagan, and because many jobs were out in that period, the jobs that came, the 61 million jobs that came during Reagan's 2 terms, were dominantly in service-related industries, and we can see we're in a service economy. We are not. We don't have the manufacturing base that we once had, and because we were also in that period of time where everybody needs to go to college. High school still meant something. Blue collar doesn't mean anything now. A lot of these high school graduates that can afford to go to college, either were having to deal with ramifications of the Vietnam War and try to recover from it into service-related jobs, and they just get to live the same economy that the people could go to college, that could do some of these other things that we've heard about. And that's what's so important to acknowledge the fact that so many fragments of the baby boomer generation, because they're so big that it's hard to just use a brush and paint everything. But also just the fact that the dollar, because something that we have to admit, the even though you lost 50%, now lost even compared to today.
Absolutely, it's fair. I think that how we have to look at the generations. It wasn't cake. I think something we take the boomers. It's not. What are you talking about? It's like, we just need cost of living wages. It's all we need. We know your house, no air conditioning. All of this cultural wars. Like we don't need that. We're cushy. Like America, going through that mirror. It was also a different time. Like consumers have changed, and what makes it fun, and if cell phones existed and DoorDash existed, I'm sure many families would have used and did part of your time. And that's such a then the wealth hoarding began. It's kind of wild. I'll tell you, the most crazy statistic to me, 1980-ish, all Americans had about $40 trillion of wealth adjusted for friction. In 2025, we have $170 trillion. It's gone up $130 trillion. But the sad part, when we talk about down, only $2 trillion of the 130, only 2, makes way to the bottom 50%. Isn't that wild? You look at the bottom 50%, there's 175 million Americans, bottom 50, and they share $5 trillion of wealth. The top 10% have 110 trillion. And a lot of those top 10 percenters, hardworking folks, I'm not saying the top 1%, the 1%, I think top 1% actually holds 50 trillion. Top 1%, 3.5 million people have 10 times the wealth than the bottom 170 million people combined. And that's just what I point to and go, I'm not for socialism or capitalism. I'm for the system we have. If you would have just made policy for the past 50 years would organically given 20% of what you have down. That's it. So you have 100 million, you've only got 80 million. You don't have 10 million. But if they would use that a different program in financial education, in wage growth, which allowed more than we all would have been. That's the whole thing with the trickle down, which just kept doing everything they shareholders. And around the 80s, it really did feel on this. Like when you're a collectively, but we have free. The United States Americans like sold off for parts to become a corporation. Like I think we're like America.
No, that's been the case.
We don't. I don't think the corporation sees us as workers and numbers on a page, not as humans. The media sees us as consumers. How do we keep your attention so that does more advertising commercials or pharmaceutical companies when you're a consumer, and politicians see us as voters. Like the 3 most powerful entities don't see us being standard, and we really care about being wages up. Every decision make is for the cheap growing to keep winning. And that's being fit me. It's like anytime I hear a politician or a media person be like, our country, I go, well, you have this country with capitalism, and everything they say.
Yeah, when we talk about the declining birth rate, we talk about the impacts on how it isn't people wanting to tax. The reason why they're not wanting to. It's the the human race, the future of America. In 20, 30 years, it's like shit. Like the economy has done nothing for us in the past 40, 50 years. When we talk about it, if it's something actually doing anything for us. I think that's the same thing of, talking about corporations can't afford to do a higher minimum wage, or they're going to have to increase prices. And it's like, well, I always like to put their stuff. It's need 9, whatever the number is. There's the stock price can maybe $5 less. There's something. It's just so we are justifying their actions to be upset to each other. It shows exactly what it is.
Really, that's what it boils down to. I do think there's a few bad apples at the very top that I think are genuinely likely great people. But I think if really comfortable, I think that got just 20% over time if they went correctly would be lifted up enough to where we would be playing people on the positive side. If you're in America, you're going to have, because you have the best and best. There's never been more working in, and that you could put this whole go places property for your retirement. And most people who actually thrive and enjoy while investing is now over at your mark, and people are incredibly frugal. And it's just looking participate. They actually have money to they don't really thrive mentally. What I mean by is 40. I agree with you. I agree that you can work on trying and figure and the best could wage. It's amazing. Stay home. I'm going to start crying. If someone's actually showing up for minimum wage, there should be a reward. Like, I appreciate that for life. And if someone makes $20 an hour, $40 an hour, that's not for Mercedes.
I think this kind of goes for people who are doing their side hustle too, like because there's so many people who do crime nowadays, at least in California, that like if you're trying something on a side hustle and you're only making a little bit of money, but you get enough to get by, there's nothing like, I don't know, when you're just starting out and you're seeing boomers are like essentially like, you know, they cause a lot of problems, sure, but they had on problems, like saying. But I think Gen Z is the people like they prefer being independent just because they've seen how bullshit corporations are. And I'm not anti-business, but I'm anti-big business. So like that's how it is for me. Like I do invest, but I also think that there's problems with corporation all dead against big business, even if big business normally wins. So yeah, it's run.
But for like a nice car that can get you, you know, a nice home that you can buy, and some groceries, and like one fun thing a week. Not a front row concert ticket, but like dinner, bowling, axe throwing. I don't know what crazy do. Something like well, that's right. Sleep until in America when
one thing is it goes back not down. And one thing, and a lot of baby boomers, so I said hopeless to do. We try different periods of time. I don't block for 300%. So it's just even the best I feel to flip the comes. We need to try to communicate the most with is actually Generation X. When you look at Generation X, they're raised by baby boomers, they spent their early latchkey into adulthood, whereas if they were in that field into overconfidence, you can 12 years old and never able to make as much as industry or something like that. And so immediately you are already at a lower tier in terms of just kind of the growth of Generation X. You then have to go through 9/11 and the wars that followed that. You then go into and come out of European period, and now into aging parents as well as kids in the most sense of time. The number and the whole thing. It's around 2000, they're about 4 years old, kind of in the middle range Generation X age range. They were going to be making an average salary of about $35,296, about $68,000 a day. So that would be a good salary today. They were going to do that if they were in the tech industry. If you're in the average age range and you had a normal career of about 2.5% annual wage boost, which you're kind of lucky to even be that for a lot of industries that we're in. But if you're able to get about 2.5% annual wage increase, you would now be making $65,300. So you're making less than you would be making $2,000. A day per $2, you're making double. You're actually making less because inflation has destroyed the wage increase that you have. I think new generation have been hosed almost every single card. I mean, they're having to face the fact of, I'm having to take care of everybody, get everyone me. Now I date all of them make a career. If you can't, we need to put house credibility behind to be kind of know how to navigate systems, stuff like that. That's the millennials and difference are gonna. So there's your way of, if you can break that curriculum. And third, I have to make some driving be on board with older generations.
That's a great to point Gen X, just say, I feel like it is a really, I think it's a ring of everything you mentioned. They are really like, kind of themselves in a way. And people like, what about, I just feel like they just don't give a shit. Like they were kind of just always, like it's the boss thing, generation just does it, but they also don't get involved that much. Like Gen X keeps it themselves, so they kind of understand with it, where the other generations are kind of going at it.
When you think about it, why would they not solve? Who would they not size? They didn't have that baby boomer size where it was like, it's the way I way. It was kicked over, didn't hit shake, all these different sort of thing. They say who had worse, even though I think it's absurd to have these, who had worse. Any of you lost of the fact that everybody, it's seen anything worse. And so we have just interest to that's gonna, and if you're well or you're not wealth, you're just choosing to find who is least. We're not millennials and Gen Z, I think, why not talk about us? Like, well, I think millennials and you're kind of up for the same reality. Like, it's to make that a millennial word the same. The thing is Gen Z now has nothing been done to stop kicking down the road. Is out and have no faith government. I see that times we try to do something else. Fighting out and we're fighting generation each other, we're fighting other countries. Like, at some point, Gen will decide and now we're trying to hopefully save us. And I just don't think we have luxury. I thought if you're going to say who has it worse, Gen probably does just because of the compound interest of lack of policy gains and stuff like that. I think they can officially. I don't think we miss, and there has to be something that's going to change.
Absolutely. That's we got to hop in, and that's why I watch my moving forward too to find a way to bridge the gaps. And I think we're getting all this information out and arrow, but at this point, there's not more to take. We all understand that inequality is the problem. Control, bring that a little bit, and actually we for that they're handy. Set blue and can't. I understand. We have to think through that because we have any economic prosperity for the Americans, then we're all doing things. But I do want to do what they're trying to bridge the gap. Have the options out. You're like other than the people who built and got rich or who were born rich, who were missing them. Every time if you didn't figure out how to get by. Doesn't matter what generation, like you said, maybe didn't buy the time, or maybe has kids or parents and trying to make your debt and try to do all that. Or struggling boom, relied maybe only on security and need a couple of thousand or 1K. We all know Gen Z millennials are life and continue life. It's worth the dynamic.
I hope you're right, guys. It's so important that we get to patients. I understand it's like my Gen Z are just about boomers and all that. And there's most where I feel like I'm not necessarily jumping for joy making a baby boomer. But I think that is fundamentally that we have these conversations. Why do they think that it is fundamentally 98% than somebody that went through the early 2010s, what we're tracing now, and to bridge that gap, going to allow us to vocabulary to have the ability to combat whatever we are trying to utilize. I think it's silly for us to argue about I think we're having should be one thing, but when it just goes to you're lazy, screw you, and it doesn't get us in the direction that we need. The sooner that we can run it, and every one of us are not experiencing the economic prosperity that should be, that we're being told that we're. I get if somebody in the 50s and are able to provide for their family, and somebody is in their 20s and are able to provide for their family, it should be, let's try to get the system working. So that's what I'm constantly trying to do. Those are the topics that I'm addressing. That's why I'm just a pillar in this storm of digital chaos that we're experiencing. My conversation with Freddie was actually a lot beyond just the topic of this video. If you like the video that is on my Patreon, there's a Finder if you'd like to support there. I really appreciate all that you guys doing. I think we're really active. So I want to know some of you. We have really big and exciting topics coming up here in the next couple weeks. So I really look forward to that conversation. Beyond that, until next time, bye.
Much in the future, China, warriors, and being confrontation with Beijing being assertiveness. The number of factors is great. Nor is it true of the Indo-Pacific, where nations have forced China out of fear. But there's one Indo-Pacific outlier that instead shows in a different approach. An approach swaps accommodation and confrontation, and forces the Philippines. Despite having previously leaned toward China and President Bush, Philippines has stood course, and President Austria took over the reins in 1962. Similar is possibility to lead action over the actively managed China nations, all of which some nations, especially nations North Sea list. Bottom line, worth noting that in some Hollywood wrong, in the arena of international affairs, had a guarantee. And with China in no mood for compromise, these tensions could be leading to one unwelcome outcome, and that's war. Just before we continue today, you ever Googled yourself? Googled your name? Maybe plug in the name of the town that you live in, or you're from, or you lived in the past, and it'll be like, oh, my address, huh? To sell your data to anyone who wants it. Scammers, marketers, worse. But ecomomy, they find where your personal data is exposed and they when your information is actually removed. Their process was independently verified by Deloitte, so you know it works. And with the new custom removals feature, you can go even further. Just send ecomomy a link to any site showing your data, things like court record portals or people's search listings. Resistance threats are attack, particularly in the US war. Considering countries bought their economic structure from Beijing perspective, the needs on the road nothing short of extension. This border is the South China Sea. Instead, Manila calls it the West Philippines, although the name change does less important. President Marcos Jr. outlined his country's feelings at the May 2024 Shangri-La dialogue when he proclaimed that, quote, the living waters of the West Philippine Sea flow in the blood of every Filipino. Now we want from the totality of maritime domain that renders our nation whole. Unfortunately for Manila, Beijing is doing just that. China claims to less 90% of the China Sea through its nine-dash line, arguing that Chinese exporters were the first to venture into the waters. However, as Research Council Geostrategy points out, this demarcation, quote, to legal or historic basis, it is the product of misunderstandings and mistranslation by officials and private individuals in China during the 1930s. Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Philippines all contest China's with territorial tensions during for decades. Dispute has been a slow burning source of friction with occasional flare-ups, and the realization that these flames are going to be demonstrated by is his own warfare to bully other claimants while avoiding open conflict. However, China does not appear to want to war a single easily set the entire blaze. Aside from those involving Taiwan, no other maritime disputes are more likely to be the than those involving the Philippines. One business is the Three Islands, claimed whole or part of China, Taiwan, Vietnam, the Philippines, and Brunei. The archipelago is spread over a vast area in the central South China Sea. The naturally occurring land area is less than 5 kilometers. While it might not sound like much, and it isn't much, with based on the busiest, less and vast energy reserves are primary Vietnam, Philippines, which might be within the Spratlys. While Chinese 21 Philippines are past 9, but Taiwan remains land. One reason in April, a Chinese state-run newspaper published military personnel posing with a national flag on UK. Beef just over
because he won that war. So I'm literally playing on Iron Man right now, and I fucking won that war. I've literally never won a war. I mean, granted, we didn't do shit, but no. Well, let's see one. Whoa. We'll give them, I wanna do... landed boating. And then we'll enact homesteading.
The episode was named by some journalists as the War of the Selfies. Another point of conflict in the Spratlys is found at 2nd Thomas Shoal, located 195 kilometers west of Palawan in the Philippines. In 1999, the Philippines deliberately ran aground a World War II-era ship called the BRP Sierra Madre onto the reef. The boat now acts as an outpost, with a small garrison of Philippines Marines stationed there ever since. Unsurprisingly, China was not very impressed by Manila's ingenuity. Most famously in 2014, China maintained a 3-week-long blockade of the Sierra Madre, forcing the Philippines to airdrop supplies to those stationed aboard. Although Manila's actions resulted in Beijing ending the blockade, recent years have seen China amassing increasing numbers to harass resupply missions. Tactics such as ramming, loud sirens, blinding lights, and water cannons are regularly employed to assail Philippine vessels brave enough to enter the area. As the situation escalates and the Sierra Madre continues to rust away, the outpost's longevity remains uncertain. And not just because the sea may yet reclaim it. Tensions spiked in August 2025 when a Chinese tugboat was spotted near the ship, fueling speculation that Beijing might be preparing to tow it away. Although the Philippines Navy was quick to brush off the concerns and downplay the threat, the risk cannot be ruled out. Stranger things have indeed happened at sea. Some 220 kilometers west of the Philippines' main island, Luzon, Scarborough Shoal marks another hotspot. Beijing seized the atoll from the Philippines in 2012 after a weeks-long standoff with the Philippines Navy, which eventually ended with the latter pulling back. Since then, China has maintained a constant and expanding patrol presence, enforcing a 22-kilometer exclusion zone through the same aggressive methods employed elsewhere. As a result, China's Coast Guard and fishing vessels now dominate the area, preventing Philippine ships from entering the lagoon. The buildup of multiple layers of Chinese ships around disputed areas in the South China Sea is known as the cabbage strategy, a reference to the characteristically leafy layers of the vegetable. As noted by The Atlantic, and we'll quote them here, a Chinese presence and de facto Chinese rights in disputed areas are built up gradually in a series of provocations that are individually small enough to make forceful resistance politically difficult, but that collectively establish precedents and, over time, norms.
Okay, we're gonna try and figure
One
out what we
particularly
can do
striking
to
dimension of this strategy
appease
has
these
been the
guys.
dredging of sediment to create and expand artificial reefs, effectively
give 'em elected
transforming them into
bureaucrats, I
military
think.
bases and strategic ports. This has been employed in
So
the
I
Spratly
don't know, I guess
Islands
this
and
is
the
an-
Paracel Islands to the northwest. In addition to demonstrating how China is mobilizing its superior forces
Oh, no,
to
we already
maximum
have
effect,
that.
these projects enable Beijing to...
Oops.
We're here to protest because our youth and friends are being killed. Oh, we are here to see that justice is done and the present regime is ousted. These words, spoken by a protester to the news outlet DW, perfectly captured the mood in Nepal, where since Monday, the 8th of September, young people have taken to the streets to demand change. What began as localized protests in Kathmandu's Matagar neighborhood quickly swelled, drawing in hundreds of thousands. By Tuesday, the city looked like a war zone. Haphazardly erected barricades, fires across major government installations, and the bullet-riddled bodies of protesters lying dead in the streets. The shockwaves have shaken the Nepalese government to its core. Prime Minister Khadga Sharma Oli resigned amid speculation that he was looking to flee to Dubai, and the country's political parties are scrambling to cobble together enough for an government. Governments of this crisis remains on edge, with pro insisting that accept anything short of sweeping political. So, and might think next. Lighting the match. All right, before the videos up to date, I'm a recording name on in time. So you're wondering, didn't cover it. That's because I was all is now doing a policy. So it was out of the way. So the first of our questions: how did we end up in this? How did it all end up in this? The ones that we need to verify that it is so staggeringly corrupt. Transparency National 180 corruption index. That's far ahead of Russia, but both still and Serbia is with the higher on graft. Not a good thing. The country is it? Nepalese angry at the aides of corrupt governments instead of stopping it, took to social media using Nepo kids and Nepo babies to criticize children and Nepalese influential politicians who made berries of graft. It's chronically online. What that's like, a young familiar with the term Nepo baby, it was Hollywood conflicts were propelled by the most things of the talent. People co-opted the phrase, using it to juxtapose the stockings between the lives of ordinary people and the Times of London reported that the main targets of attacks. A pair of over when academics from abroad to survive, Nepo babies build Christmas trees with stolen taxpayer money. Only taxpayer.
Then what we'll do is we'll pass this right here.
Jobs has driven millions of young people to seek work in other countries.
From there, we might eventually swap back to this later on in the campaign.
While in the United States,
for the
fastest growing community
free company charter.
In 2024, according to the New York Times, they sent back
plus for the meme of like
which accounts for a staggering
technocracy,
26. So how did the Nepalese corruption relate?
I just realized it's like
the number of
at the same latitude, but just like across the country from the
people well on
not
happens. Instead, the government
area of California is exactly
this was
same latitude as the
really bad fucking idea. Analysis from Digital Chaos found that at the start of 2025, there are 40.3 million active media users in the this is equivalent to about half inflation. And for those people, it more than just means it's a lifeline. Dr. Nayana Prakash, research fellow at Chatham House, there's a sort of trivia of what social media can mean to young people, both in protest and out. Social media isn't just a way that we chat to our friends.
It's a way of making money.
Connected to any client in society, locally and globally. In Nepal, particularly, social media has become an important young tech generation to find jobs and run businesses. Yeah. For some, being on social
I figured
media
he was going to say about that.
A job. A job? There was a few feedback with Facebook from launching content in the country, something that does trivial until you realise future livelihoods hinged on it. I am so aware. Now, to be fair, this wasn't about social media. There were steps companies would take, like registering with the government and appointing a liaison officer to handle complaints that would exempt them. TikTok, exactly that, Viber, so simply call it social and strip away. We should also be careful. To give perspective, they weren't trying to be a bunch of old men shaking their fists at those darn kids and their pesky phones. They were trying to limit the spread of misinformation and ensure that both the platforms and the users were responsible for the content that was produced. That being said, they gave social media companies a mere week to comply with the new rules. And then the shutdown started. Shutdowns that felt to Gen Zers like a collective punishment. And, well, collective punishments tend to breed collective anger. The protests. From the outside looking in, it's really tempting to view the protests in Nepal as simply an outburst of anger at the social media ban. However, that is really missing the wider point. Speaking exclusively to Warfronts, Dr. Caroline Mose, a scholar, opines that while the ban will trigger, the was paid for and leads to corruption. Points that we were triggered by the social ban. That is not a negative. The on the first day, the protesters gala and one showcase culture. The first protesters still live marching, chanting, others reported some were carrying a flag from the anime and reminiscent of these. The Russians, however, soon moved to some protests over the wall attempting to reach the bill. That's when the return. And it was set up, and the police were held with stones, police water, tear gas, and even live ammunition. The government both cut one, who managed the largest residential neighboring plan. This did build to other protesters who were in red crackdown. By the end of the day, at least 19 people were dead and more than 300 were injured. In the wake of this carnage, political parties such as the Nepali Congress, part of Prime Minister Ali's ruling coalition, and the Communist Party of Nepal, Maoist Centre, the country's main opposition party, issued statements calling for accountability. That a member of the ruling coalition would issue such a statement signaled to regional observers that it was a question of when, not if, the Prime Minister resigned. Ali's coalition was held together by broken promises and fragile bargains, and the protests tore right through it. After an emergency cabinet meeting, during which Home Minister Ramesh Lakhak resigned, Prime Minister Ali issued statements on roads that infiltrated the protests. He further added that the government was not opposed by the youth and announced the end of the Soviet ban. But by now, parties were like this, an already pissed-off generation now reason to hate government. Almost on-day demonstrations. Like on things were violent from the outset. Protesters set tasks in Rwanda and chased the catastrophic protests burned down the Parliament and the Supreme Court. The houses of politics then decided on a trip of an international airport where some politicians have been taken from the country. Some took attack nation during a match of the more than Rabbi J.A.E. who was the prime minister. Someone says it fleet video that's in the can be through the street of Kathmandu with people the minister down, sending him to get back up. Continue. Video cuts off. Just one claim. That's the nation's finance minister. Subsequent videos show
oh, I find that like
violence wasn't limited to the followers of Catman, a mob down that prime minister John Nakamar killing his wife who died. In this way, the Nepal protests went far below seen in Indonesia. Their politicians were trashed. No one was lynched. No one's family were burned alive. Such no surprise that the Nepalese crackdown was far harsher. Realizing the police could not maintain peace, President Ramchandra Patel, who holds a mostly ceremonial role within the parliament system, deployed the army. Within hours, a scene of uneasy calm had returned to Kathmandu. Bar a few hours. Wednesday morning, even these pockets of doors, even the capital tense, but quiet.
I just got this gut feeling that the shit is coming to the US soon.
Comes next.
I don't think like I don't think you can have the military being deployed around the country and all over the place. Like, you know, I just don't think you can have that without
General Rasmus, Nepal's army spokesperson, speaking to public TV, he asserted that whether they were acting to minimize the situation and restore calm. Despite those assurances, skepticism still lingers. Public analyst Bishnu Raja Preti told Al Jazeera that although the president was nominally on, his lack of credibility to J.A.E. protesters meant that the army was the nation's backbone. The military is not taking over. Who activists? Aside much of the debate on economically, one is the conversations happening, and we real time the building. From these talks, one name rose to the list. Former Chief Justice Sri Kaki. One was preeminent jurist. Kaki developed a reputation as an honest defender who of law protesters by marching alongside them and calling out the killing protesters. However, she does face a major hurdle. According to Yoraj Processor Kari Universal Framework, the expressed directive from Parliament. It's a that faces another option, Mandu's political figure in Nepal at the moment. As popularly known, has endorsed Kaki and called the president to dissolve Parliament. The district of Parliament holding new elections are among the core of the protest. As one person we spoke to viewed the entire institution as salvageable. Other demands include the introduction of elements for Prime Minister, who under the current constitution can serve an indefinite number of 5-year terms and a reduced term for Parliament from 5 years down to 4. Some protesters have also suggested introducing a mechanism for the direct election of the Prime Minister. This would end the current system where voters elect members of Parliament who then select a Prime Minister from within their ranks. If these demands are met, they could pave the way for Sushila Kaki to become the nation's first female Prime Minister. However, they might also pave the way for a controversial figure to make a comeback. In the previous chapter, we introduced Rabbi Lakshmane, the former deputy prime minister who escaped jail during the protests. He initially rose to power as a populist, an anti-corruption figure, but he later became mired in several corruption scandals. Despite this, he retained a significant base of support that has fronted him as a possible pick for interim prime minister. Supporters point to his long career in governance and past anti-corruption stances as evidence that he has what it takes to lead. Yet for all his support, Lamachane's chances of becoming prime minister are basically zero. Beyond the controversies that make him unpalatable to the youth, his very escape from prison has raised constitutional, ethical, and legal questions. Elevating him risks undermining the legitimacy of any transitional government and the protests as a whole. In the background of these debates, some Nepalese are discussing a more dramatic possibility: the return of the king. Isn't that a Lord of the Rings movie?
Now come the days of the king.
Former monarch Gyanendra Shah, who was deposed in 2008 when Nepal became a republic, has retained a loyal following. In early March, more than 10,000 supporters gathered near the main entrance to Kathmandu's Tribhuvan International Airport to welcome the king after a trip to Western Nepal. Now, with the government reeling from the shock of the protests, the monarchists are trying to push the narrative that the king is the only one who can stabilize the country. Regardless of who becomes the next leader of Nepal, one thing is absolutely clear. They will have to shoulder not just the hopes of the protesters,
Guys, you know what? That's
but
what
also
makes me
the
want
weight
to
of a
do.
broken system.
This makes me want to play Kid 3. If
protesters
you guys want to see that, I'm
more
gonna pop on that game.
Zooming out.
So yeah, we'll see.
So, stepping away from Nepal for a moment, we can see that these protests are not a unique phenomenon. In fact, what unfolded in Kathmandu echoes similar movements in the Philippines, Kenya, and Indonesia. In Manila, young Filipinos marched against corruption. In Nairobi, Kenya's Gen Z
Control. Just to control people. Turn the volume. I'm a beer back. I'm gonna go make a pizza. I got something from the store a while ago. It's downstairs in the fridge. So I'll be right back. Gonna make a kind of microwave little cheese pizza, and I'll be back online or back to the live feed. I'll pull up chat on my phone. Actually, I just wiped my phone. I need to do something with it. I need to set it up again, but that's why I was like, I normally have chat pulled up on my phone, but I
beyond
I'm only
just
using
replacing
one
the
monitor right now because I can't set up
Speaking to
the
Al Jazeera,
Roku.
he said, and we'll quote him here, I think
right
the bigger
here.
picture here is people wanted someone they could trust.
I can't change the input on that because I don't know where the remote is.
During her tenure as the country's
And
chief justice,
I need
she had built a
to change
reputation
the
as
input
someone
on my phone.
not only willing to stand up to corruption,
So
but also ready to
I'll
take
be
on the political elite.
back up
However,
in a bit,
taking over
but
as interim prime minister
gonna
would
go
be
make
more
lunch.
than just a sterling
I'm kind of hungry.
Kaki inherited
So,
a
yeah,
fragile
be right back.
country teetering on the edge. Government buildings have sparked. She seems to have handled this task really well. On her first days in office, she visited injured protesters at Kathmandu Civil Hospital, promising that the state would pay their medical bills. She further announced that the families of slain protesters would receive 1 million rupees, about $11,330 in compensation. By doing this, Kaki was signaling that the days of government indifference to public suffering, a huge driver of the protests, were over. And it was a message that resonated with the country's youth. So much so that they took to the streets with brooms and trash bags and spontaneous clean-up of Kathmandu, intending to show the world they were ready to rebuild. Beyond mere symbolism, Kaki has also taken concrete steps. The government announced the formation of an independent commission led by retired Judge J.A.E. in relation to investigate violence, both that unleashed by the state as well as that carried out by the protesters themselves. So far, the commission has already banned former Prime Minister Oli and several others, including former Chief of Intelligence Utaraj Thapa, from leaving the country. For his part, Oli has denied any wrongdoing and demanded a separate investigation into the violence. He wrote on Facebook, and we'll quote him here, "The government did not order live rounds to be fired at protesters. There must be an investigation into the incident in which automatic weapons not issued to the police were used to fire shots." Then there's the technocratic government Kaki appointed to steer the country through the transition, one designed to hopefully restore public trust. Some of her picks include Om Prakash Ayal as Home Minister, Rameshwar Prasad Kanal as Finance Minister, and Kulman Gising as Energy Minister. According to Al Jazeera, Ayal is a human rights lawyer who has taken on legal cases in the public interest. Kanal is a former finance secretary who recently recommended major economic reforms, and Gising is a former state power utility chief credited with ridding the country of its load-shedding problems. Ayal has already made waves promising that all the corruption cases that had been stopped because of political influence would be reopened. According to a local outlet, the Kathmandu Post, Ayal insisted that the mandate of this new government was to ensure law and order, without which it would be impossible to hold elections in 6 months. And that brings us to the most important point. Everything that Prime Minister Kaki's government is doing right now isn't just to hurt protesters. Rather, the overarching purpose is to prepare the way for an election scheduled for the 5th of March 2026, one that is likely to be the single most important election in Nepal's modern history. The question is whether she's up to it. And now a quick word from our sponsor, me, or more precisely, my website, fronts.co. Have you ever found yourself thinking, there's just not enough content on Warfront. 6 videos a week is just not enough for me. I want the world to be crazier. I want more war, more death. Well, one, what's wrong with you? And two, well, great news. Extra Warfronts content is now at your fingertips over at fronts.co. Look at that. Look at that. Yes, starting this very week, we'll be posting 2 exclusive videos every week to our new subscriber-only website, fronts.co. For just $5 a month, you'll gain access to brand new Warfronts content that won't be available on YouTube. Our first videos are already up, exploring topics as timely as whether Poland could win the war against Russia, and as timeless as how South Korea came to build the best tank on Earth and to sweeten the deal. We're also asking our writers to contribute 2 in-depth written articles each week, exploring some unusual or less appreciated geopolitics and warfare. So, not only will you get more of the videos you love, you'll also get a chance to read some of our writers' unfiltered takes on war news. So look, if you like this channel, you love Fronts.co. Again, $5 a month. It helps support us here at Fronts, Warfronts, Political Fronts, and Fronts.co. And nothing is changing here. I've learned from the mistakes of past YouTubers. We are not doing a paywall on any existing content. The 6 videos a week will be here for you just as before. It's all just gravy, baby! I don't know why I went all Austin Powers there, but yeah, fronts.co. Just go there. Good domain, right? It was expensive. Organising a snap national election is a logistical challenge, even in stable democracies. And Nepal, Well, Nepal is currently about as stable as a house of cards built in the middle of an earthquake. Not only does the government have to contend with the aftermath of the revolution, it also has to accommodate a new groundswell of interest from a youth that was previously disengaged but is now alive with the fire of protest. The voting age has already been lowered to 16, and the deadline for registration extended until the 16th of November, a move specifically taken to allow the nation's young people to cast their votes. Under the old system, new voter registration was blocked the moment an election was announced because, reasons? This decision, perhaps more than anything else,